Hey guys, today is the day I'm going to be doing a concealer showdown between the new Tom Ford Emotionproof Concealer and the Estee Lauder Double Wear Waterproof Concealer. I looked at the ingredients in here. There's only one ingredient, I think it's a fourth ingredient down, that is different. But I'm going to go ahead and take pictures of both boxes and post them to my community tab here on YouTube. So if you're interested, head on over there. You can do your own comparison. But these two concealers are very, very similar. They're both made in Belgium. They both have a very similar texture and they both have the same smell, which is not a fragrance at all. It actually kind of smells like paint. So I am very interested to see how these both wear on my eyes. So we're going to be doing a full day wear test on these. I have the shade 3 Pale Dune in the Tom Ford, and I have the shade 1C Light Cool in Estee Lauder. The shade ranges in these two concealers are very different. So I was at the Nordstrom store in Santa Monica and I was like comparing the two and trying to see like which ones would work on my skin tone, but then which ones were like the closest between the two lines. And this is what I came up with. I had originally thought the number 2 concealer was going to be my match, but that one is a little bit more neutral and it looked a little bit like graying, ashy on my skin tone. The number 3 has just a little bit more peachiness in there. So that's why I decided to go with number 3. And there really just wasn't that many options for this concealer. So 1C just seemed to be the closest match. But here is a swatch of both of these concealers next to one another, just so you can compare for yourselves. So the one on the left is the Tom Ford Emotionproof Concealer, again in number 3 Pale Dune. And then the one on the right is the Estee Lauder. And again, that's shade 1C Light Cool. I see a very slight difference in the tone, but as I talk about these concealers, I'll try and kind of stay away from like the actual tone and color match. I'm really interested in the texture and the formula and how it's going to look underneath my eyes and how it's going to wear. They both are supposed to be very long wearing. So let's get right into this. So I'm going to apply the Tom Ford concealer to my right eye and the Estee Lauder to my left eye. So the Tom Ford comes in this bottle with a doe foot applicator, and the doe foot applicator has like a nice flat angled side to it, and the texture of these concealers are on the thinner side, so I am very curious to see how these do with like fine lines. So what I'm going to do is just apply this straight to my under eye. I'm just going to give myself 3 stripes there. So I don't really want to introduce too many things, so what I'm going to do is blend both of these concealers in with my finger. So that blended in very nicely, and while it has a thin texture, I don't think this is quite as thin as the Armani Power Stretchable Concealer. That one is very, very thin. I love that concealer, but that texture is very, very thin. This one is thin, but it has like maybe a little bit more tack than that one. So you saw how much I put on, not that much. I'm not someone that puts a ton of concealer on underneath my eyes. And I think the coverage is okay. It's actually a little bit less than I thought. I thought this was going to be just a really full coverage concealer, probably because it's waterproof. I just thought it was going to be like much thicker, but it's light. And I want to see the coverage is like medium for a concealer. I want to put a little bit on the lid of my eye here and see how this works on my lid. So I do like this shade match for me. I think it does a slight brightening, not too much. And I have to say, it feels really nice on the skin. It feels very, very weightless. It just has like a teensy bit of tackiness there. All right, let's go ahead and apply the Estee Lauder to my left eye. And what I'm gonna do, I think, because this has like a squeezy tube, I'm gonna squeeze some out on the back of my hand and try and mimic how much I put down from the Tom Ford side. Going to wipe my finger off. I think that's maybe close to the same amount that I put on. Gonna work this in. This does feel the same. It has the same kind of texture. It's very lightweight. It has a minimal amount of tack. I'm trying not to look at the color because I do like the color match for the Tom Ford better than the Estee Lauder. I'm just trying to see if it's sinking into fine lines or if it looks dry or cakey or anything. And so far, They both actually look very nice on the skin. So I'm gonna do a close-up right now of both eyes so you guys can see for yourselves. I think they both look really nice so far under the eyes. So again, this is the Tom Ford side, and here is the Estee Lauder side. So usually when I do concealer reviews, I'm only doing one concealer, and on one side of my face I'll like powder or whatever, and then we'll compare. So I kind of don't know what to do with these concealers. I'm a little interested to see what would happen if I didn't powder either of these, if they would crease or fade or whatever. At the midday check-in, we can take a look at where we are, and if either concealer looks like it's deteriorated quite a bit, what I can do is powder at that time. Maybe I'll do that. So I'm gonna leave these unpowdered for now, but I'll be back midday and give you a check-in. I forgot to give you what time it is. It is 9 o'clock in the morning right now. So I'll be back around lunchtime and I'll see you then. Hey guys, it's about 12 noon right now, so we are doing a 3-hour check-in, and I've put on quite a bit of makeup since I left you, but I have left the concealer area down here alone. I did not come even close to that area with any makeup, and you can probably even see like a pretty clear demarcation where like I stopped using my face makeup. But I'm also filming for a NARS review, and I have the Hot Nights palette on my eyes and my cheeks, and then I have some of the NARS Orgasm palette products over my cheeks. I heard some mixed reviews for that palette, so I'm really putting that palette through the test. I'm doing it, you know, over just foundation, over foundation and powder, under foundation, and today I'm testing it over makeup. So far I'm liking the Orgasm palette, but I really have heard very, very mixed reviews about it. But we're not here for that. So let me give you an update on the Tom Ford and the Estee Lauder concealer. So on this side is the Estee Lauder, and on this side is the Tom Ford. Both of them, I don't feel like I need to set down. So I didn't powder either eye. I thought if I needed to, maybe we would do that now during the check-in, but I was just taking a close look at both eyes, and they look fine. I don't see any kind of creasing or anything. And when I put the eyeshadow on over the concealer, and when I put the eyeshadow on over the concealer, so I didn't put any powder down. Usually I put powder down. I like to put powder over my concealer so like eyeshadows can go on a little bit more smoothly, but I thought, let me just use it all by itself, see how it works, kind of like as an eye primer. And it actually worked really well because there was that slight bit of tack to it. Not too much where I feel like it makes blending eyeshadows difficult, but I think the eyeshadow applied really beautifully over it. So there is that. But underneath my eyes, which is generally where I'm much more concerned when it comes to concealer, I feel like there is very, very similar wear. I don't feel like either has sunken into my fine lines or emphasized my fine lines. I don't think either side looks dry. I don't feel like I need to set it, at least not so far. But what I did notice is right underneath my lash line, I feel like on the Estee Lauder side, there's a little bit of, I guess you could call it creasing, but there's just these like teeny tiny kind of like skin wrinkles down here. And I feel like they're kind of settling into those where I don't see that on the Tom Ford side. I'm going to zoom in really close here just to see if you can see, because it's so minor that it took me a while to even notice it, but it just seems to be kind of like I'm catching those little wrinkles underneath my lash line, like right underneath my lash line. Other than that, which is something that you wouldn't even see unless you were standing like an inch away from my face, I feel like both are wearing really beautifully. I am actually very impressed with both of them so far. It's only been 3 hours, but I've been impressed with them so far. I think what I'm most impressed with is that they don't look dry or cakey at all. When I hear the words like waterproof, I just automatically think that it's gonna be this like dry, cakey mess underneath my eyes. But the formula was a little bit thinner than I thought. It went on much more smoothly than I thought. I just don't know why. I just have all these preconceived notions about waterproof concealer. I also don't see any fading, which is also pretty miraculous considering there's no powder down. But it is waterproof, so maybe it should really be long wearing. I will be back probably around 5 or 6 this afternoon so we can do a full 8 to 9 hour wear test, and we'll see where we are at that point. I'll see you then. Hey guys, I am actually downstairs standing in front of my sliding glass door, and I got some good natural light, so I thought I would show you what these concealers look like in daylight instead of studio lighting. It's about 4:45 right now, so it's been about another almost 5 hours, and this concealer is still going strong. And I did sort of inadvertently test out the waterproof feature because I had a total crazy allergy attack where I sneezed like 10 times in a row and my eyes just started watering. And I was trying to just pat it away kind of gently, but I just, ended up rubbing it away. And the concealer, both sides, still looks pretty darn good, I have to say. I don't think my tears actually kind of affected it at all. So this is the Tom Ford side, and this is the Estee Lauder side. So I'm really, really happy with these concealers. So I'll be back in about an hour, hour and a half, and we'll do our final check-in then. Hey guys, it is just short of 6 o'clock, so I basically have had this makeup on for about 9 hours now. So just gonna give you my final thoughts here. Really, not much has changed because this concealer really hasn't changed. It has stayed put. It has lasted through a lot of tearing because I had a crazy allergy attack this afternoon, which I just mentioned in my second check-in. And there's been no creasing. There is no fading. There is no sinking into my fine lines. I will say that both concealers really look exactly the same under my eyes, aside from the slight difference in shade. But I think if you're curious about the Tom Ford concealer, maybe just get the Estee Lauder one. I think personally, I like the Tom Ford shade better than the Estee Lauder one. I also much prefer the doe foot applicator versus that squeezy tube. I don't like the squeezy tube when it comes to a concealer. I really just like to swipe it on directly. I don't like taking that extra step of having to squeeze it out onto the back of my hand or onto a palette and then using a finger. I always feel like I'm wasting a little bit of product that way. It's an extra step. So for me, I prefer this one, but because of the price difference, it's really gonna be up to you which one you end up, purchasing. But I do think that they perform pretty much the same, at least on my eyes. But let me give you a close-up of my eye area. And again, this side is the Tom Ford, this side is the Estee Lauder. So there's the Estee Lauder. And then here is the Tom Ford. I am very impressed with the performance, I have to say. And I like the coverage. You guys saw, I didn't put a ton on, but I got like a nice medium coverage, nothing crazy. I like the texture, I like the coverage, I like the wear. I think it looks really, really great. So that is it for this video. Please let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.